Hello, and welcome to today's Measure Up podcast. This is Andrew speaking, and it's been a very busy day in my life. I got a new car today, and everything is cool. Let me talk to you about Level Up Games. Level Up Games. Level Up Games is located at 207 13th Avenue South in South St. Paul, Minnesota, 55075. They have all your games, video and board and tabletop games. They have everything you need. They also have comics, which is another reason why I love them. This is a also going to contain today a Tales from the Dollar Bin. That's basically what this is, but there's going to be other things talked about on here. And so you can call them up at 651-493-9176. They're open 10 to 10 every day, and you can get comics, and they have great deals. Like the comic we're going to talk about right now is available in a 6-pack of all 6 comics from the series for $1 a piece, so that's $6. And you call up and they can ship stuff to you. There will be a charge for shipping, obviously, but you can find some great stuff there. In fact, they have games and all kinds of stuff. So if you're out of state or in Duluth or something, you can always call and see what they can do for you. All right, so let's get into this week's Tales from the Dollar Bin. And this one was given to me by Tony just to see if I enjoyed it. I think this, if I was reviewing it as a review, would be a pass totally, because there's so much going on in this book that you basically have to read Convergence and a few of the tie-ins to get this one. And I didn't read any Convergence. I just kind of read the small version of it. I didn't really read the whole thing. Basically, in Telos 1, Telos was the guy behind Convergence, but behind him was Brainiac. So after everything shook out, I'm taking it, he's riding up to see Brainiac. Telos rides up to Brainiac's spaceship that looks like a giant kind of Ultron head, is what I would say. A lot of people have seen it in other comics and on TV, but if you've never seen it, it's kind of like a giant computer head with a whole bunch of like tentacles coming out of it. So basically, Telos is angry that Brainiac used him to do his bidding, and now he wants his family back after he's been freed from his. So we see a bunch of fighting between Telos and Brainiac's minions, which are just green aberrations of different creatures and stuff, and he fights through them, and he's yelling at him like, "Where's my family? I need to have my family back." And he breaks through and he uses all kinds of power because Brainiac gave Telos, as we figure in here, half of his power to do what was done in Convergence. So basically, he fights and fights, and he fights his way all the way to Brainiac. And Brainiac's talking to him, and he's like, "You stole my life, you stole my family, what are you going to do about it? I want my family back." So then there's some more things that Brainiac brings him, and he fights through them, and he finally gets to the real Brainiac, and he starts to put a pummeling down on them, and he says, "Where's my family? Where are they?" And Brainiac tells him that they're safe and they're far away, but if he hurts them, that he can't get to them. So then we go to a place where, as far as I know, we've never been. I don't read DC very often. This is very inaccessible to people. I mean, if you don't read anything DC, you would never get half of these references, and I only know them because I watched a abbreviated version of what the previous thing was about. And there's a guy on fire, and he's talking about the arena, and they're gonna kill some people because they've been disobeying the rule. So it's kind of like you get the feeling that this guy's not in charge, but he's the guy that's the face of the government. And so a guy that walks up behind him, he looks just like Brainiac, and he talks to him about something that happened. And so he doesn't get his sport in. He just burns all the people alive, and he says, "Come." And so he follows him, and then we switch to a pretty cool thing here where the art in this is amazing. That's all I'm going to say. Is the artist of this one is, I'll tell you at the end when I go back to the front. I'll get his full name. But anyway, so Telos is standing over Brainiac and he's warning him, I want my family, I want my family. And Brainiac says, give me all the power I gave you and we'll get your family back. But then Telos doesn't, obviously, he doesn't trust Brainiac. So Brainiac says, I'll give you my power, but so you can go take care of this problem on this moon. And we're meant to believe that on the moon, or this planet, is where this people are with the fire and the burning of the bodies. So then we see Telos and Brainiac's talking to him about what he did. And they show Brainiac's ship and it's on fire and going down. And Telos gets mad. And finally, Telos is telling him that he wants him to undo the past. And Brainiac says, there's one shot. You have to go into this city, and then you have to destroy this planet. And it weighs on Telos, but Telos agrees. And so he shows him where it is and where his family is. And he has to kill this rebel girl. She just looks like an every normal day. Well, she's green, so she's like Brainiac. So I don't know if it's Brainiac's daughter or something. But he says that he has to go down and help her destroy the ruling on this planet. But Brainiac has a side action going on because he's Brainiac. And finally it ends where Brainiac sends him off and he says, remember the deal. And then he turns around and he's not talking to Telos, he's talking to the guy that's fuzzy in a computer. So you don't know who he's really talking to, but you're supposed to believe, I think, that it's the guy from the beginning of the comic that had the fire and burned the guys. But anyway, so that's the end of this comic, and it was Telos #1. I believe there were 6 of these, and it was pretty good. So the writer was Jeff King. The pencils are by Carlo Paglian. Inks by Jason Paz and Sean Parsons, and the colors by Hi-Fi. And the letterer was Travis Lanham. But reading this, I can understand why it didn't sell very well, because unless you were reading Convergence, you probably wouldn't have understood half of this book. I mean, the pictures in it are great. Like I said, the art is amazing. I really like it. I would just, in fact, that's what I did, is when I was reading it, I was reading it and I was kind of trying to understand it. I didn't understand everything because it was so deep into Convergence that I was just reading it and just admiring all the drawings. So beautiful. And I would recommend looking at the pictures, but I wouldn't buy it. If I had to pay like a lot of money for it, I wouldn't pay for it. But $6, that's a pretty good deal, I guess, for six books of great art. And then it might tell a full story. So if you feel like you need to read it, call Level Up Games in South St. Paul. And I know that he has 2 sets, or he had 2 sets a few weeks ago, of the complete set of Telos. So if that's your deal, or if you were a fan of Convergence, then go ahead and get that. Just a couple pieces of information I learned today, well, in the last few days. But Marvel seems to be going all in for this Legends thing. They announced that Garth Ennis is going to be returning to Punisher, which means that's going to be something I'm picking up, because Garth Ennis' Punisher is amazing, and that means the kill count will probably go up. And Mark Waid is returning to Superman. Or no, why did I say that? Not Superman. He's returning to Captain America, which is going to be awesome, because Captain America needs to be the flagship superhero of Marvel. That's just my opinion. I think he's the guy that gets everything going. So when you throw him into the middle of Secret Empire, I think that just tarnishes Marvel's image, because that's just something. It's like a car dealer and bringing out a good car, and then the car doesn't work very well and it gets in a lot of crashes and stuff. And that's your flagship car. Why aren't you putting more into it? It just seems like I'm not a big fan of Nick Spencer's writing, so the last while of Captain America hasn't been my favorite. But that's all I have for that. And I got from the comic shop today, my pulls today were Amazing Age #2, Lilith Dark #2, and got both Captain Americas. I got Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers. As we go towards 25, next month is just Captain America 25, as we eye the end of Secret Empire. So next month's going to be big for like really great comic books. And then September is going to be really big because there's going to be a lot of great comic books coming out in September too. And I mean, I counted like 12 or 13 like ones that like were for sure have to get that month. But we'll talk more about that at a later time. I hope you enjoyed this Tales from the Dollar Bin, and I'll see you in 2 days for the next broadcast, or podcast as you will, about comic books. I hope there's something more to talk about then. But between then and then, I hope you read a lot of comics. I'm going to be reading a lot of comics. I got a stack here from today that I got. And I will be doing reviews tomorrow of the Alterna comics that I read. I read all the number ones except for 2. And I'm beginning those at my comic shop at Level Up coming next week. So I'll be able to review those next week. But Alterna Comics is the comic book company that's doing everything on the old like newspaper print, and the comics are only $1.50, and it's pretty awesome. And I liked all of them that I read. They're not for everybody, but I enjoyed them. And if you like old school comics, you will like them too. But we'll talk about that on Friday. Thank you very much. Keep reading all your comics and make sure to support your local comic book store. Thank you.